Call the meeting of the Bay County Veterans Affairs Committee to order Tuesday, March 18, 2025, the Bay County Building. Roll call, please. What we're doing it.
Vaughn. Begig.
Here.
Eckstein.
Here.
Digby. Here. Van Tool. Here. Stewart. Here.
Quorum. All rise for a Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the minutes from 1/28/25.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizen input, not too much there. Petitions and Communications, don't have any. Reports and resolutions. I guess that's my Veterans Committee meeting at the National Association of Counties. They have a Veterans Committee that meets at each of their conferences. They have one in the winter and then one in the summer, and that'll be coming up in July. Doug Collins, the new head of the VA, a veteran himself, spoke to us. He's from Georgia. He was a congressman at one time. And all of that was about at the time when the DOERS was getting into action. So he guaranteed us that services to veterans would not be cut, that he would make sure that happens, that there will be essential services will still be there, and your payments will be coming. So, and we'll see if that happens or not. I'm sure they might dig a little deep sometimes, but hopefully not too deep, and then there may be an adjustment period afterwards to get some people back. I think we've got somebody from the VA applying for one of our jobs, it looked like, that here at the county building. It looks like he may have gotten laid off from the VA. I don't know if you read his resume there. It looks like he was at the VA hospital and was doing it sounded like veterans online services, taking them through the process, which sometimes can be a little daunting, but hopefully nothing will suffer along the way. We also had Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, talking to us. Ag is big in this area, and hopefully help out the sugar beet producers. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Vaughn, I know Elon Musk had said at one time he wanted to dismantle the VA healthcare system and have veterans just have their bills paid at regular hospitals. Mm-hmm. But, that would be terrible, because I know I recently made an appointment with a dermatologist from my primary care provider, and both doctors knew each other. It took 4 months to get an appointment. The main thing that we want to make sure that our federal representatives know to weigh in is to keep the Saginaw VA open. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll cut veteran services. They may lay off staff, but it would be terrible if our vets had to go to Ann Arbor or Detroit to go to a VA hospital. That would be a terrific challenge for them. Yep. So hopefully we'll get through it all, and we'll see that VA hospital. Overall, they do a pretty darn good job from what I hear from veterans.
And the National Association of Counties does lobby for veterans and other people too. So they have a large lobbying firm, and that's our voice in Washington that knows where to go to talk to people. They think sure things are. I don't know if you all noticed any changes that have affected you yet, Veterans Department. Any? I know the grant funding was cut a bit, but that's a different situation. Probably talk about that a little bit too, but.
There's a lot of discussion, but there's nothing. We know the employees have been cut.
Yeah.
At what we don't know, unfortunately. That's not. Yeah. The VA doesn't ask us what.
Yeah.
Or inform us.
Yeah. The federal level hasn't hit us yet. As we'll go further, we'll talk about the state thing.
Yeah.
And as we've told multiple of the veteran groups, every time we go to a meeting, we will always be here. Chaz and I will always be here at county.
Yeah.
We work for the county. We don't work for the federal VA.
federal government.
And as long as county wishes for us to be here, we will be here,
Yeah.
which is,
And that grant money is from the state-funded money not federal grant money. Any other questions about that? I don't know if anybody else been to the VA lately, noticed any change in services, or, I know you just had your exam, so they're still doing the examinations, compensation.
That was an outside doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that, for the compensation, they try to get it outside of the VA system, so there's not a conflict of interest. I've been trying to do that for a few years, and I used to work for a company out of Wisconsin who contracted with the VA to do those unbiased examinations so that, veterans don't get a conflict of interest from a VA trying to keep the cost down. So, not that they would do that, but, so. All right, well, we'll have to keep an eye on it, and if anybody finds anything, let us know. We'll see what we can do. We had the emergency relief policy. I don't know if everybody got their version of it. I had it a minute ago. It's the emergency relief policy. We had one from a few years back, and there was some discussion on that, and we got some comments back on it. I don't know if Chaz wanted to go over some of the recommendations that you have there.
don't push.
I have your,
Yeah, you actually have my copy, so the recommendations of the alterations, there were very few. I believe there were only 3.
Yeah.
One of the main provisions was the continuous use of the program, and that we would be setting a timeline of, if it may be at the bottom there, 2 years?
2 years.
2 years.
True limit, yeah.
And you're more than welcome to take over and read whatever I
Okay.
wrote, because I have the blank one here.
Yeah.
But I know that it wasn't, it was not many in number of changes.
Yeah, there's a 2-year limit on continuous use. The calendar year after the last use would be eligible. Required training for financial literacy. We did talk about the Bay Veterans Foundation maybe having something that they could develop along that line.
I can speak to that, if you don't mind me interjecting. I have spoken to Mike Jamrog with Mark. He was present, and they are on board. They already host certain financial literacy classes. They're generally aimed for high schoolers, but they enjoy the idea of expanding the scope and the breadth of that and the delivery. And so they are more than welcome to host or negotiate in some way with local stakeholders, whether it be from, banks or credit unions or whomever that may come in and not only give financial literacy commentary for this particular purpose, but a greater purpose to the veteran community and who we see as clients. Trust in estates, wills, things like that, that we get many questions about, but that doesn't fall under our purview, so we usually don't have any commentary. So they've been really receptive, but they have not yet locked down anything solid, so I will return with an answer on that.
Anybody else have any other suggestions? We were going to approve it at this meeting if there's no other, there's after, oh yes.
Did we discuss if they didn't bring back the receipts, that they'd be given a warning, and then if they continued to do it, then they would be suspended?
And we talked about it.
I don't recall that actually at the just previous meeting.
Yeah.
It was actually before that. I think that was in the fall.
In the fall.
That you had brought that up, and I had already implemented that. So they're aware of
But
it.
it's not in our policy, so.
It's not. And I've been lenient on that, and I have, I've just tried to remind them. Sometimes there are extenuating circumstances. Some of the individuals that I'm dealing with they're moving. They either become homeless or they're moving into a place from being homeless, and so somewhere in the transit, they, may misplace the receipts. I accept that. But generally, that's few and far between. We're talking about maybe 2 to 3 people
Right.
of all that we service.
But we just need to make sure it's in the policy, what we're doing is in the policy, so that if they have a complaint, there's some place to start, well, hey, the policy says this, just follow the policy and away we go. And like you said, there's extenuating circumstances that this committee can, we can waive things on extenuating circumstances.
Yep, let's add it.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that's in the policy, just so that they don't come after you and say, well, we've done it all the time. Okay,
So,
I see it here. It's
yeah,
in there.
it's in here. Guidelines for emergency care, receipt of their previous food purchase is required. Failure to comply can result in suspension for obtaining food and gas cards. So we do have a failure to return receipts will result in first time and a warning to return the receipts, second time suspension from the program for 6 months, third time not returning receipts will result in removal from the program for 1 year. So we do,
Hopefully it never comes to that.
yeah. So is that okay for you then, that part? All right.
Just so everyone's aware, in practice, under the documentation needed to apply, this is page 3 of 5. The second piece, proof of Bay County residence and 1 picture ID. I lean on that driver's license a lot. I make sure that I'm adamant about asking for that because I am aware that there were previous recipients of gas cards that at the time of me asking, it was annotated that they had been receiving gas cards, but yet they either had suspended or void licenses and thereby are conditionally exempt from driving on the roads in Michigan, so I'm not going to fund that with the gas cards, regardless of the purpose that they were. Some of them had exposed that they were bartering with the gas cards, and I informed them, hey, that's not how the policy is designed, so should you go get a new driver's license, we'll be happy to give you another gas card, but until then I'm not going to be able to do that. And everyone has been agreeable thus far.
As long as everybody knows what the rules are, it's easier to follow them. It just makes it easier for you if they start complaining, you say, here it is in writing, and then you're covered.
So the two major points are the 2-year limit on continuous use, the calendar year after the last use, and then required training for financial literacy, the 2 things that we asked for. So unless there's anything else, I would look for a motion to approve the new version.
Mr. Chair, if I may, could we then add those 2 items in and then bring it back to the committee at the next
Sure.
meeting for,
Yep, you can do that.
that way at least what they have is a complete
All right.
of what we send forward to for review.
Yep. So if that's okay, we'll table till the next meeting then. All right. All right. Transportation, we talked about transportation before.
So we'll begin peeling back the many layers of the onion here again. I'll give you first a current update. So 24 trips occurred between our last meeting and now. That's down from 58 the year prior. I asked Kathy, our administrative assistant in the office, I asked her, could she identify a factor that was more prevalent than most as to why that may be in her professional capacity? And she didn't have one exactly, so it's not that our drivers were not available. Some individuals it was just less number that were utilizing it for appointments. But to that end, we had 1 driver for the majority of that time period. We only just recently, within the last 2 weeks, regained 2 more, so then we have 3 now. So we are operating most days of the week as we were originally. But that is really just underscoring how we need a policy in place for not only the transportation program, how it's going to run. We currently don't have an effectual policy, just like we needed to do this for the emergency relief policy, for the conditions of use, but also we need to decide as a group whether or not we're going to continue offering the service, and that is really where it becomes layered and nuanced. So Director Beaver and I have agreed we're going to do a walk-in to the Saginaw Alita Clinic because we need to find out who is in charge of their vet ride transportation group. It has to go that far. We have called, I have called multiple times, sent emails, I've talked to people that are in adjacent positions, yet no one with the actual authority or title of the transportation administrator has either returned the correspondence or made it clear to me what they're offering or under what conditions. And when we tell the individuals, when we don't have drivers, that they can reach out to Saginaw, they do so. But if they're capable of getting a ride through Saginaw, we don't hear any feedback. If that, if the appointment is taken and the sufficient purpose is met, then we don't hear back from them. They may call back again for a different appointment, but they still have not told us whether or not the system is working as designed. So Director Beaver and I are going to physically go out there. We're still waiting on, the transponders, what's going to happen as far as countywide with our vehicles, because that all figures into yet another layer of this, which is the county funds from the MVAA. Because the Michigan Veteran Affairs Agency has decided that, not decided, but they have reconciled the current situation. They have told us today in an email that there will be no capital purchases allowed from here on. That would include vehicles. So that just further narrows what we're able to draw from if we were to continue the transportation program in that one capacity. So we've got an issue with driver retention, driver recruitment, the vehicles themselves, funding, their depreciation, and then replacement. We need to settle on a policy here. I'm not usually the guy that, sits here and just throws a bunch of problems at you and doesn't have a resolution. I do have ideas, but I think really it's kind of like a game of dominoes. We need to figure out the county, the funding, whether or not it's going to be feasible to continue the service for cost. And if we figure out it's not going to be feasible for cost, then we will know whether or not the program will continue and whether or not we need to focus on driver recruitment or retention. One problem falling, then there solves another.
So they will still cover salary, but not capital purchases. So if we had to go out of the county, out of that 1/10 of a mil, could we use that for vehicle purchases?
We can.
Yeah.
We do have the funds for it.
Yeah.
But that purchase, it's what I would refer to as a known quantity. We could estimate that with reasonable certainty, what it would cost, and then flesh that out over a period of years. What we can't do is the driver retention and recruitment aspect. We need more drivers, and we're not sure where we're going to get them from. As stated in the last meeting, I had reached out to the service office, these service organizations, and I had not gotten any reply except for one young lady who she said she would be available after snowbirding in April, but therein lies the problem. It's just another one to a list that will create this vacuum when January approaches. So.
Matt, at last meeting, you had mentioned this vet, right? Is that not for Bay County, that it's not available here?
That's what Chad was talking about, but we've been trying to get a hold of him and research everything we could for an alternative, and he has not got a hold of anybody, so we're gonna physically go down there.
Gotcha.
I'd rather work that way anyways, and sit face to face, if it's that big of a deal. Probably next week, we're gonna probably take a ride down, and we wanna know firsthand, is this something that we could even use? It sounds great, but I have never heard anybody use it. We've been researching it. So we're just going to go right to the source, and we'll know more by next meeting. It'd be wonderful to have that option, take a lot of pressure off us and money, everything.
Yeah.
But we'll know more next month meeting.
A big issue is we have to physically show up. We're not being responded to, and as a veteran who uses Saginaw, I'm able to actually schedule appointments, which then doesn't measure up to what I have been told. I have been told, as this seems speculative now, that they will not service us because we are too geographically close. Yet I am able to schedule appointments. But just because I am able to do it does not necessarily mean that our veterans are able to do it. And so I don't want to, rest on my laurels with that.
So I called both Bay Metro and Stars to see about the bus garage that they have at SVSU, and they do have that. Bay County runs from 06 to 1800 to SVSU. Stars on the other side, 610 is their first drop off of the VA, and they run to 2000. So that's available. It's $1 per organization each way, so $2. and then $2 home. But when I was talking to Dave Smith at Bay Metro, and I told him our situation, he says, well, we have almost 70 vehicles, and they might have the capability to pick up this veterans drivers. I told him we're going to talk today about it, and he was going to get with Eric Sprague and see if they might be able to pick this up, to take the Bay County veterans to and from the VA if they have a schedule. They wouldn't sit with them all day, but they can make like pickups and drop-off times. And so I told him after today, I'd let him know what we found out in this meeting. But he said they may be able to do 2 or 3 drops down there a day and 2 or 3 pickups to come home for Bay County veterans, and that was for the Metro. But both the Metro and Stars said they have no problem, even with handicapped personnel transporting to SVSU and vice versa, and they can do a change or a marriage there between the two. So it'd be $2 each way if we did that. But that's an option.
Yeah, it's $4 a veteran for the whole round trip.
Yes, $4 a veteran, so it costs us $4 per trip, and then Bay Metro, he seems to think that they may be able to do this for us, but he was gonna, we'll talk to him more about it tomorrow. But I'll wait till you guys find out from the hospital too for vet ride.
We do have bus tickets that we give out as well, so that will probably just be linked in there. My concern would be, I'm trying to frame this right. I was about to say plausible deniability, and frankly, that's what it is.
Right.
If we were to pass something off like this, we have had a veteran already in recent memory, 2 months ago, took a ride on his own volition without our knowledge and was out in the elements. And then who does that fall on if that veteran either doesn't make their appointment, or even should they, if something, health-wise happens? Who is that now? The Metro's problem? Is that ours as an office, as a department? Who's going to oversee this? Is it going to be a warm handoff?
I would imagine they take care of that now. They're covered now, so they're hauling handicapped children, handicapped people now, but I can ask that.
Are they, when you're speaking about this, is this individually, or is this conceptually the bus? The bus route goes that way, or this is individual pickup?
They'd use a van and make a schedule for veterans. He'd make a schedule and say, hey, we can do it at 8, 10, and noon on these days for drop-offs, and on the way back, we can maybe bring them back at 1, 3, and 5.
Okay.
That way veterans they may have a 2-hour wait each way. They may have an appointment at 9, and the bus leaves here at 8, but they may have to wait an hour down there. But he was going to check and see what their availability was, but they run 12 hours a day right now out of Bay Metro, and they do have capabilities in drivers and vehicles, it sounds like. So
This sounds great, and we have veterans right now that they're mobile, but extremely limited.
Yeah.
And I think that leans into then another topic here about the transportation policy,
Yeah.
about who we are giving rides to, the condition that they may have, et cetera, because we don't have, our drivers are not EMT qualified in any sense, so just.
probably the same with them, I would imagine. We had, years ago, we had a Bay Veterans Transportation Procedural Draft. Do you still have that, Mark? The same one?
Yeah, I think.
Is that what you were looking at?
I'd have to find it. Yeah, it was never finished, but there was a draft.
Okay, that's the same one I have here then.
I'm aware of it. It is down in the office. Yep.
But you're right. I mean, we had a group of veterans that would drive in the past, but it was a group of veterans that got together. And how do you replace that? When you go to the service organizations, everybody's very busy, and it's hard to get a group to dedicate themselves to 24-hour calls, and so it's tough.
Thank you for doing that with the Metro.
Yeah, I'll check with them again, but I'll wait to hear from you all too,
Yeah,
to see
we'll
what
know
time.
an answer by next meeting for sure. I don't like that they're not getting with us because it sounds like a great program. It scares me when they're not, we got to physically go down there and talk to them.
And
So
I can let them know.
I'm not keeping my hopes too high for that program, but we're going to check every inch of it, every detail on it.
And I can let them know that you had 22 was the last, that was the last numbers for last month? 22 transportation?
24.
24. And then, of course, you got the fee of crossing the bridges. So
Yeah.
The problem I have with that, though, the number, its representation, we only had one driver. So 24 trips is one driver giving those particular trips. It's not necessarily speaking to how many attempted to schedule and weren't able to do so.
due to one driver. Yeah.
Sparso?
Yeah. Troy, do you know, is the VA in the city? I think it is, or is it in the township?
For sign-ups in the city limits.
City limits?
Yeah.
Because, the Chamber and Bay Future, we've all been talking about this connecting Midland, Saginaw, and Bay through our transportation systems.
Oh.
One of the problems with Saginaw is the STARS is only for the city.
City, yes.
It doesn't travel outside the city, so that can be a problem.
Yeah,
but
she
we
did
gotta
tell me
overcome
that they will hit the VA 10 minutes after every hour. They leave so they leave from right downtown, and VA is one of their first stops. So she said if they were there at 6, if it was a Saginaw resident at the Stars at 6, they would be at the VA about 6:10. So our people would have to get the transfer, and the transfer downtown, and then from there they'd catch the next hour at 7:10. So,
But if you're saying Stars only goes in the city, how do they get to Saginaw Valley for a transfer?
Stars is, well, they're saying they go to Saginaw Valley, maybe that's their only
Yeah,
odyssey.
they'll make that as a stop, but they can't deliver or pick up outside the city limits because they're exclusively funded by millage from the city of Saginaw.
So they just make that a stop, so our people would have to get
They will
the
do a
transfer.
special trip to Saginaw Valley, yeah.
Gotcha.
Trying to coordinate between the three.
Right.
It's
Well,
a
like-
challenge.
Yeah.
Like Chad's saying, our drivers are at a disadvantage because they're not trained in CPR and all the other emergency stuff. And if something happens, it falls back to either our driver or it's going to fall back under the county's insurance.
The liability, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, has always existed. I have not seen any literature to speak to any other previous policy that addressed that. So we have individuals that as long as they have a clean driving record and a driver's license, then they're in the driver's seat. I'm concerned about just feasibility first, fiscally, and then administrability. And one will solve the other. So as soon as someone in here says it doesn't matter, rain or shine, what the MVAA is going to contribute in the grant, and it doesn't matter what it costs out of the emergency relief fund, the county millage, as soon as someone gives me that direction, I will flesh out recruitment, retention, possibilities. I don't want to go to that length if we can see the writing on the wall is this is inadministrable or not feasible. Because that just seems like a waste of effort.
So next meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll probably go, Friday, this Friday, we'll probably make it as soon as possible.
I'll be here.
Because I'm just glad we have drivers for our veterans to get down there, but we always want to make it better and more efficient, so that's our goal. Long story short on that.
I would like to just ask, can we get a feeling on utilizing the emergency relief policy structure, the components of being honorably discharged, the wartime service, Bay County resident, indigency, emergent need? Do we want to piggyback that and use that as a base for our transportation policy so we have something on the books?
I would think so.
Okay.
Because that's how the funding comes, is based upon those requirements.
Because we have individuals,
It should go right to our transportation too.
we do have individuals who are using the services right now that under the emergency relief policy would not qualify to do so. And so I would like a delineation made so that way I can, good or bad, say, hey, these are the rules, this is what we need to have done.
Thank you. We'll table that to the next meeting. C, the fiscal year 2025 Veterans Service Fund grant updates.
So the grant update is unfortunate news, but we were going to get 99,000 and they came back within the last 2 weeks and they're cutting it $29,584.76, which is going to leave us $70,338. So we're getting cut 29,000 roughly from our normal 99, and it's not just happened in Bay County, every county got cut. And the reason behind it, they were pretty transparent here with us. We all had a Zoom meeting, but then the director actually came to our office last week, which was nice to see them and break it down completely, exactly what happened for us. It's unfortunate, but I guess they estimated what every county would get, and that will probably never happen again, but it did happen this year. And the reason behind it was they get $4.2 million from the state for all 83 counties. And in the past, I guess they started this about 2019, and there's like 35 counties applied. So that means all that money got divided a little higher to everybody. And that kept happening, maybe 45 counties to 60 counties. Well, here we were with 70 counties applied. So they just forecasted wrong, I guess the best way to put it. It's unfortunate, but we're going to be at $70,338. And we're very fortunate here because we've been pretty responsible that we have some funds that cover our year and looking forward. So that's where we stand with this grant update. If you have any more questions, we all sat in it, and I can probably answer whatever you have.
Mr. Chairman, we did get a higher allocation, over some years over $100,000 because we were the second county in the state to establish a county Department of Veterans Affairs under the state statute. So prior to that, we had 2 contract employees left over from the Hitler administration that had issues that we addressed. But yeah, we got a great staff now. We're serving a lot of veterans. But we never had a Bay County Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm proud we're the second county in Michigan out of 83 to establish that and qualify for the funding.
So the money that's always there, we'll always get 50,000. We know that as a base, because that's that 4.2 million that's always there. It's when other counties then apply is why we got more. If that makes it pretty simple to explain.
There were administrators at the time that were forecasting. They were forecasting because they had individual counties who were concerned about their own budgets and about purchases that they wanted to make. And so they wanted answers on whether or not the funding would be there. And then there was an administrator or administrative group that decided, yes, it'll be there, and they began forecasting because the original problem was that there was too much money from the counties that applied, so they were able to forecast because they had that extra money, and then that obviously ran aground here in this last year because they had enough counties apply, there were no funds, and they were still forecasting, and so now they had to eliminate the forecasting component.
So how is that going to impact our office? It's only getting...
Well, they're making them guidelines too that we were talking about earlier, like what you can use it for, what you can't. Right now, sure, it's nice to have the extra money, but will it impact us where we got to cut anything immediately? No. We've been pretty responsible with our money. We have a fund balance. We're very fortunate in this county what we have going on. So I don't see no immediately cuts or anything like that. Will we look at things going in the future? Because I'm going to look at this money that we're getting this time is what we're not going to go higher, I don't think, unless other counties drop out. But why would they? Unless they're upset about this, they just drop it. But I got to look at it. We're not getting 99,000 again. I know that. I'll never estimate that ever again. Kind of got to look at the 50 and to be safe.
There are
we're gonna be fine.
There are other reasons too as to why there are less counties like 75 instead of 83 that of the available that are applying, and that has to do with the ties that come with state and federal grants. Really, is that there's always a tie-in. You have to report what you're spending on, and some of the counties, as told to us, are unwilling to do so, and so that also plays into it.
So one of the things that they're talking about is instead of doing quarterly reporting, which is the same as how the county does it on a quarterly basis, they're talking about monthly reporting. So instead of it being 2 hours once a quarter for us to calculate all these things, now it's going to be 2 hours once a month for us to stop anything else and then calculate this and then send it off to the state. And then whatever else it's going to take finance to calculate, payroll and everything else that gets tied into that, it's going to be an increase on them as well of 1 to 2 to however many hours that is each month for them to calculate their part. Instead of it just doing once a quarter, we're now reporting 12 times a year.
Any other questions?
And one more that they're talking about, and this was one of their suggestions that the deputy director had said to us, was to, anybody that requested was to give them the 50,000 base. And then, instead of forecasting how much may be available at the end of the year, wait until the following year to then figure out what's left in the fund, figure out the rate that they can pay to the counties that applied, and then give them the leftover amount, instead of giving it all to us within the same year. This way, they won't have that problem on their end. The fund will never be short or forecasted incorrectly.
And we have money in the millage funds.
And we have money in the rainy day fund, so we're still We'll be okay. There's a lot of offices who have a grant employee who's helped out. Obviously, those are going to get cuts. They're planning events. There's been a lot of discussion on the Michigan Association, the MACVC, about how other offices, and we have our upcoming conference, which is actually one of the things we'll be talking about. I'm sure that's going to be a heavy topic that's going to come up.
I have a question you might put to them. There was that extra tenth of a mil for emergencies, if any other counties have done that. You know, I don't think we're at that point, but maybe ask around and see if anybody has levied that extra tenth of a mil. It says for emergency services, but it doesn't say what those emergency services are. It's not real specific.
For a total of 2/10?
For, on top of the tenth of a mil already, it'd be another tenth of a mil. It'll be 2/10. And anything else? Just a little bit along those lines. There is legislation. I don't know if any of you know Gary Dietrich. He's active in the Legion. I think he's statewide. It might be out of Carroll, but he's been working with Senator Daley's office, which we've worked with him before, about legislation to update the 1890 whatever it is legislation and define indigent and more money that you can give to them. So it seems to be moving. I know Alex is with us now, was working on that at one time with his office, and now it seems to be moving again. So we'll see if that affects any of the legislation along that line. So we hope. Any other new business? Miscellaneous. Mark and Chaz are going for annual required training, Grand Rapids. So we have funding for that.
Our association, the Michigan Association of County Veteran Counselors, provides annual training for us. We're required to do 16 hours every year for our accreditation to the VA. So we have to show the VA and the state and everybody else that we are keeping up on our training, that we're doing these things to maintain our accreditation with the VA. So this is one of those, one of a few opportunities that we have that we can actually do. And the other one in the fall is the Legion Conference we go to up at Higgins Lake. So this is one of those opportunities, and this is with our association, who are the same as us from other counties, or the same, our VSOs or directors, et cetera, who are all, we have similar issues, obviously, and obviously this year's conference will be heavy on the grant and what everybody else will be doing with the whole. So, but this gives us our updates that we require. We get usually the director from the regional office in Detroit comes up and talks to us about any changes that are going on in their office, things that are going on that they see. We get updates from the Pension Management Center where we send our pension claims through. So we get regular updates. And then there are other things about issues at the VA hospitals and other things that we get updates with for the conference. So
sounds good.
So there will not be, and in generally most counties will not have a VSO available for, and we've got a sign all prepared and ready to go that, hey, we're not going to be there in the office. We will be at required training. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and then I had one item that I'd forgotten to put on the American Legion Department of Michigan VA&R division. Gary Easterling has reached out to us about the possibility of having a American Legion service officer in our office. So we are currently working with county staff, trying to figure out all the logistics of, what does this provide for us, which is, another person. This person that they're asking is a female veteran, which would be good in the events that we need, since our office is heavily not female veteran, for those that require or want to speak to a female service officer. And also Legion, as we've said in the past, handles about 75% of our claims work, and they don't charge. I mean, they do this. I know they get their funding elsewhere. They get their funding through the American Legion as well, and they have their own grant process, but they do about 75% of our work, including reviewing all of our grants or all of our claims that go through. They also handle any appeals that go before the Board of Veterans Appeals. They are the ones who actually sit with the veteran, discuss the claims, go through all the claims, make sure everything's okay, and then hold the claim with the judge. And lately, most of those are all video conferenced. So they can do it right from their office in Detroit. The veteran is wherever the veteran is, and the judge is in their office in DC. So they do a lot. So we are working with, like I said, with county staff, trying to figure out if we can do this, if this is something we can have. We have the space for this person to be there approximately 2 days a week on a permanent basis, and as long as we want them there, as long as somebody wants.
Is the Legion Service Officer currently at the VA hospital? Is that the way?
No.
I'm moving here, or is it a whole?
There's another one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not Tommy, there's another person.
Nice.
Who's had she's using other facilities.
Okay.
And the problem is those facilities are not places you want to be discussing medical conditions.
Right. Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so, this would help
So she's current.
with them to have a space as well that's somewhat private within our confines of our office.
Nice.
You got that third office way down by the conference room.
Yes, and we've worked to get, to actually move Kathy, not in that, but into a more of a front position there in the lobby. We've ordered a desk, we're just waiting on it to come in to get her to be out there so she can see the people can see her, and if they're wearing appointments or other things, she can at least direct them to have a seat or make an appointment for the future, so that would open that up again. The only conflict would be with
Kill these off.
Congressman McDonald.
McDonald Revit, sorry, I was trying not to say Kildees well, and it came to Kildees, who are there when they have mobile office hours, which they don't currently offer mobile office hours. So it's not currently a problem, but in the future, and in the past, we've had whoever came from that office, we had them use our conference room on that first Monday, so we don't even know when they're going to resume mobile office hours, and then what day, whatever works within their schedule.
Frankly, it appears as though this is, at its surface level, just enhancing and expanding what we offer in our office at zero cost.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah, she brings her own, they come with their own equipment, they've got everything, all they need is a desk and a chair, and electricity for a light, so.
And that's what we're doing with Region 7, so we're getting a lot of help, more service for our Bay County veterans at no cost. It's a no-brainer.
That's a good idea.
So, but we've got to go through the steps with county, and that's in the process of discussion. It's like, can we allow this? What do we need? What does county need? What does they need from American Legion? What paperwork has to go back and forth for?
You just have to work out the logistics and,
Yes, and whatever county's asking for to.
like you said, it's a win-win situation. Just work out the logistics.
Yeah. It'll be a good thing.
Any other announcements? Otherwise, I have a couple. So we have the Welcome Home Vietnam Veteran Lunch on Saturday, March 29th at St. Stanislaus Church on Kosciuszko Avenue. Check-ins at 11, ceremonies at 12, but they are asking, there's no charge, they're asking that you RSVP to 989-893-1616. That's 989-893-1616. Up on Day 3 TV. I hope.
I think that's Vaughn Voss's number, Squire's Funeral Home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funeral home. Actually, I called it today. It is a funeral home. Yes. Brian Voss is the lady that answered over there at the funeral home. They're helping sponsor it. So no charge, but there is limited space, so
Yeah.
you need to call.
300 is what they're allowed.
Pardon?
300 people.
You might be getting close.
The other week we had heard, 2 weeks ago, that there were already 100 people signed up,
So
so.
far.
And Chaz and I will both be there. We'll have a table and give out any information and.
Yeah. I called today and they didn't turn me away, so I must have some room yet. The other thing is the Vietnam Moving Wall is coming to Carroll, Michigan, June 27th, 28th, and 29th. It's been here before. Auburn had it. I believe that was the moving wall. And it's going to be at the Darby Farm Park Soccer Complex in Carroll. I have flyers here. They also are looking for donations to bring the wall in. It's quite expensive from what I hear. So June 27, 28, and 29 in Carroll, Michigan. And we'll be trying to put this up also. And the other announcements. We have some citizens. Mr. Byrne is a veteran.
I'm not a veteran, but I have two brothers that were in the
Oh, yeah, that's
Vietnam War.
right.
My name is Pat Beeson.
Other guy back there, yeah.
There's somebody,
Oh, no, I thought Dick was here. I don't see him. Yeah,
you said citizen input.
yeah, go ahead.
I just want you to know that I'm your appointment, Bay County's appointment on Region 7 Division on Aging Board. And I heard him speak about it. With our funding and everything looking pretty serious, with, with the cuts they want to make in that, I want you to know, as your representative on Bay County's board for Region 7, I've been there 16 years, and I'm the treasurer, so I keep track of all the money real careful. And veterans are on the top of our list, and I think that in the future, I'm not sure, we may have to partnership a little more, and we are always open for veterans. So, our plan way down the road, we'll see how things go. We'd like to build on our property. We have a big chunk of property on Euclid, some housing, maybe to house veterans in the future. We'll see how things go and how the funding goes. But we do bath program, respite care, Meals on Wheels. In Bay County, in the 10 counties that I'm on that board with, Bay County puts out the most meals per day, average of between 1,100 and 1,200 per day. The other counties are less meals, but we fund part of that meal program, and in the bath program and respite care, we work with Bay County and Saginaw, Midland, all the 10 counties real close. So I want you guys to know I love seniors, and I've been on this board a long time. When I first started, nobody wanted the job, and I took the job, and our budget 16 years ago was $12 million. It is now a $50 million budget. Over the 16 years, I'm a business person up in Calcall, and I own Beeson Supermarket there. I've been there 45 years this year. My average day is 13 to 15 hours, and I must love what I'm doing. I'm still doing it at 73. But I want you to know that we will want to work as close as we can with you guys on the veterans programs. If they make cuts and you can't provide the service and we are eager to be there to help veterans, whatever we got to do. I remember when I was a commissioner on this board, we did not knock doors for delinquent tax. So Rick Brzezinski and I knocked doors, especially veterans who are going to lose their home to back taxes. We don't want their homes. We want to keep them in their homes. So we found ways to fund their taxes so they stay in their home. And then we also got people teamed up to work with the veterans and seniors and handicapped to try to make sure we can keep them in their home and keep them taken care of. In 10 counties, I can tell you, we have 95 people that never leave their home unless we pick them up and take them to the doctor or shopping, or we take care of a bath program, respite care, Meals on Wheels. In Bay County, our Division on Aging, they're huge, wonderful people. The people that deliver the meals, they have partnered up with Humane Society and different things. A lot of times when they deliver a meal to the senior, they're also delivering a little package of meal for their dog or their cat, so that the people getting the meal eat the meal, and we got a meal for their animal. That might be the only meal. In a lot of cases, Bay County's Meals on Wheels delivered up in Calcall, and Bill is our delivery man. I can set my watch by him, he's there. Another thing Bay County does, if one of our seniors, veteran or handicapped, do not answer the door and they got a meal coming, they have a book, a phone book, right in their truck. They call the family, hey, your mother isn't answering the door. We have a meal for her. Could you get somebody over and find out? I'll be back in a half hour with the meal. Maybe they can find out what happened. So Bay County, Beth Urick is doing a great job for Bay County and all the veterans and everybody that we can serve. And I want you to know I'm up for reappointment today, and it looks like I'll probably get that. I love what I do, and I want to stay there because I grew up with older people over me all the time. My dad had a store by Visitation. We had a gas station, a dairy bar, a laundromat, a beauty shop, a barber shop, and car wash. 1,200 students, 61 nuns, and 5 priests. I'm telling you that because I want you to know where I came from, how I grew up under the priests and the nuns, and I had a wonderful life, and I want to give back more yet. I love what I do. There's no greater service to mankind than a service to someone else, to another person. You know, and I'm a service-oriented person. When seniors come in my store, veterans, all of them, I'm right on them. I help them. I carry their groceries out to their car. I do whatever I can because, you know, I also do the laundry for Huron Woods Nursing Home, 61 beds over there. I'll be there tomorrow at 6 in the morning picking up their laundry. We'll wash, dry, fold, and hang, and I'll haul it back. But they're all seniors. Some of them are veterans in there too, and we're taking care of them the best we can. You know, it's a great job to be someone that's healthy enough that can help somebody else. You know, it's so easy to be nice. So every morning I get up, look in the mirror, and I go, damn, you're good looking. Let's go out and see what we can do to help somebody else out. So if you come to my business, you're going to find if I'm there, I'm going to say hi, and I'm going to do whatever I can. But I want to also let you know, I want to work with your Veterans Association as much as we can. If our funding all gets cut, we're going to do the best to keep everybody taken care of the best we can. So thank you for the job you guys are all doing. Someone has to do it, and thank God you guys got the heart to be here and come to the meetings and worry about our veterans, because they deserve it. Whether anybody likes it or not, their veterans need our help, and they deserve it, because we wouldn't be here without them. So thank you, and I'm sorry to interrupt your meeting.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn is always in order.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
You need this
2 months.